The 9 recommendations that we can see are obviously directed to security matters and certain reforms and tightening up and improvements in the security by the various government agencies, particularly in the area of counter-terrorism, obviously. Now, that's not something that the Jewish community is involved in on a day-to-day basis. That's for the government agencies themselves. Obviously, anything that is going to make it safer for the Jewish community and Australians generally to live their lives in this country must be a good thing.
Now, the security recommendations that have come out now are pretty much what the Prime Minister originally wanted before he accepted that we should have a Royal Commission. And I guess next week is what most of us think of when we think of a Royal Commission. There's going to be public hearings, people giving evidence. And the initial hearings, that there are 2 weeks of those hearings, and then presumably there'll be more hearings down the track. What are we actually expecting to happen over the next 2 weeks, starting on Monday?
Well, it's important to remember, of course, that what happened at Bondi and the security response to that and the preparation is only part of a much bigger story. Anti-Semitism has been rising significantly in this country. Indeed, it's been there for a long time. It's been a light sleeper, but of course, post 7 October, Hamas's attack on Israel, it has exploded in this country. And this is what we need to tackle, the onshore anti-Semitism. What we can expect over the next 2 weeks is 2 things. In the first week, there will be evidence of the lived experience of anti-Semitism, that lived experience by evidence being given by Australian Jews. At our ECAJ, we will have Peter Wertheim and Alex Rivchin flying the flag for us. They will be talking about that lived experience from the perspective of the ECAJ and indeed from the perspective of the community as a whole. There are other people who are going to give evidence. For example, Jeremy Liebel is going to give evidence. Deborah Conway is going to give evidence. And of course, she's been cancelled in the arts and entertainment space, which is terrible. So the Commission is going to hear all that. The second week is going to turn to some of the expert evidence about what precisely anti-Semitism is. So it's laying that groundwork foundation from which the Commissioner can move on to the next stage of, okay, that's the lived experience I've heard from Australian Jews. These are the experts telling me what anti-Semitism is. Okay, we now understand the problem. Let's now work on how do we tackle it? How do we fix it?
So will there be other public hearings as we go along?
Yes, there will. So this is just simply what's called the first block. And the way that Royal Commissions generally work, and this one is working in the same way, is to tackle the issue in blocks. So what they will do is they'll allocate a topic or a group of topics to a particular block of hearings. There'll be all the preparation for that block, the gathering of the witnesses, the supporting evidence, the data and so forth, and then the hearing will run in respect of that block. So we don't yet know what the further blocks are. We can anticipate that there might be one, for example, university and academic space, arts and entertainment. There'll be several others we would anticipate, but ultimately it's the Commission's decision, to some extent guided by us, but it's the Commission's decision as to what those topics are and when those hearing blocks will occur.
Now, the people that we mentioned over the next couple of weeks, or for the first week at least, are quite high profile. You mentioned Peter and Alex, and I believe Alex is the first one. Jeremy Liebler, of course, Deborah Conway, Michael Gowenda also is scheduled to speak. One of the things that we've been doing is pushing people to make submissions, just to ordinary members of the community, to discuss their lived experiences. They don't represent institutions as these other people do. Are we expecting these people who've given their submissions, their everyday experience, to be called at some point to give evidence?
So the answer to that is no, but that doesn't mean the submissions aren't critical. And let me explain why that's so. It's one thing so the way that the Commission is treating this is people make their submissions, and the submissions can take any form you like. And we know already the Commission has received 3,500 submissions, which is extraordinary. Now, I don't know whether they are whether they're good submissions or or what they are, but the point is that people are responding. So we need the Jewish community to tell the Royal Commission about their experience, about what they think, what they feel, and that provides, as I say, that base. The purpose of the hearings is to pull out from that certain representative witnesses. You can't hear from 3,500 people. It's not possible. So in many ways, these people, yes, admittedly high profile, but people like Peter and Alex, and you're right, Alex is going first, and Deborah Conway and Michael Gawenda and Jeremy Liebler, they're all going to be giving this evidence, if you like, almost like essentially as representatives of that ordinary everyday experience. And so that's how those hearings and the submissions interact. But the submissions are still critically important. They are read, they are considered, they form part of the thinking of the commission and the commissioner herself.
Now, the deadline for these submissions is the end of the month. So even though the public hearings are beginning next week, we still want people to make those submissions.
Absolutely. Because what we have to remember is that this is an ongoing process with the Commissioner reporting on the 14th of December. And at the moment, she's just identifying the base problem that is that lived experience and the definitional issue of what is anti-Semitism. So both, if you like, the expert approach and the everyday experience of it. And then she's going to move on, as I said before, to how do we fix it? And this is what the submissions that she receives are going to cover all of those areas, and that will form part of the synthesis that she engages in over the rest of the year, which will inform her thinking and ultimately, what is most important, we want to see at the end, her recommendations.